Welcome to the Namakula Patrons Club Structured Conversation Series. Every last Friday of the month, we come together to explore thought-provoking topics, exchange diverse perspectives, and challenge ourselves to think deeper. From timeless African philosophies to modern-day challenges, from history's lessons to possibilities of the future, this is where perspectives meet, ideas spark, and minds are enriched. These structured conversations are a journey of insight, growth, and connection. Whether we are tackling current affairs, history, philosophy, or everyday challenges of life, Namakula is a space where every voice matters.
So straight away to the conversation of today, artificial intelligence, maybe we can even begin with just the definition of what artificial intelligence is. Because everyone understands artificial intelligence in their own way. Artificial intelligence is simply the ability of a machine to have almost the same cognitive abilities of a person to be able to learn, think, and make a decision. But in this particular case, it has made a decision because it has been fed with a lot of data, right? It's like how you look at the word called artificial intelligence. There is intelligence which we all understand, human intelligence. I have a 2-year-old, but I've watched them grow. There was a time when they did not know how to react when someone says hi. But as they watch you interact with another person, there's a certain intelligence they have, and so if the person does this, I need to respond. That's natural intelligence. So when you talk about artificial intelligence, think about intelligence that is not human-made. Think about intelligence that does not naturally exist. There are many technologies that have come, like blockchain technologies, Internet of Things. All of those things, really, they have artificial intelligence at the back of them. To really understand what artificial intelligence is, you have to go a couple of hundred years, a couple of centuries back, and look at how technology has been evolving over time. If you look at the time before what we call industrial revolutions, beginning with the first industrial revolution that was benchmarked by the discovery of the steam engine, which steam engine revolutionized work as we know it, revolutionized production of things like cotton, production of things like produce. Why? Because now there were production, you could call them production facilities, where people would bring in their produce or they would bring in their goods and then they are processed in the same place. That brought in the concepts of work as we know it. A person to come and work for a particular day, particular hours, and then they go back home. That brought in the aspect of the need, the requirement of training people to be efficient in the work they do, what we call curriculum. That the Industrial Revolution led to the need for education, but education that would increase the productivity in these places. From the first Industrial Revolution, just the discovery of the steam engine changed a lot of things. The people that were at the forefront of using this technology are marked as one of the richest men in that time, right? The trade. Oh, what it did, it revolutionized trade as we know it, right? Because now you would move the cotton or whatever you want to move in places that you would not, in the most, in a quicker way than human beings using whatever they were using to carry this thing from one way to another. From the first industrial revolution, you go to the second industrial revolution, which was so much around the discovery of electricity. I don't know whether you've heard of a gentleman called Nikola Tesla, right? He was a man whose research work led to the discovery of electricity. And that changed a lot of things. Because imagine now you are able to produce light. That means it brought in conversations of, okay, I think work has changed. A person can work during the day, but they can also work during the night. Because the same work environments can be created. It brought in many, many other innovations. Even in that time frame, the people that were able to translate this technology into human use and consumption were one of the most thought leaders in those times. That's why the second industrial revolution is known from the discovery of electricity. things like communication changed, right? They were able to create communication just after the discovery of electricity. There was a gentleman, I forget his name. He created a system where signals could actually be sent from one device to another. So communication as we knew it changed. Leading technologies in industrial revolutions are disruptive. They change a lot of things. So you look at the discovery of ICT, which comes now as the third industrial revolution. Now the phones become smaller. Phones become more portable. Phones become more usable, right? You go into things like computing. That was the time when you see computers coming in, you see televisions coming in. That was all ICT. The media changed, the way education changed as well, because now the workforce needed to be trained to use the technology that was apparent. So these industrial revolutions even defined education as we know it. So artificial intelligence is not just that. It's not just that tool that you have on your phone. It's an industrial revolution. It's the bedrock of the fourth industrial revolution that is going to define education, that is defining how work is done, that is defining careers, that is defining how trade is done, that is defining how even people communicate or how people relate with each other. So that is the seriousness, or what I would call the right picture or lens to look at artificial intelligence. That it's not just something that is here that might pass away. No, it's here to revolutionize a lot of things. According to the World Economic Forum, more than 78 million jobs are going to be replaced by 2030, according to the World Economic Forum, with more than 120 jobs to be created. So they predict that there are jobs that are going to be replaced, but there are also jobs that are going to be created. And if you study history, it reconciles with it. That is what sparked what we're doing. We said, okay, let's at least make sure that everyone has an opportunity to understand what this technology is. Because in them understanding, it's a wake-up call. It's not an immediate response, but someone will understand, oh, this is where we are as far as this conversation is concerned. If artificial intelligence has a lot of potential, it's creating a lot of opportunities. We need to have a conversation also on how to mitigate the risks, because the opportunities are high, but the risks are also greater. For example, if you go into the spaces of security, you go into the places of privacy, you go into the places of ethics. Those are very good conversations that are supposed to be had, because I feel we have realized that, especially for this part of Africa, AI governance needs to be the focal conversation around leadership. We need to have leadership that understands what artificial intelligence is, but they carry the foundation of the society ethics to know that this is the right way of doing things. This is how it should be done. Because if we throw ourselves into this whole artificial intelligence, but without a balanced judgment, we might not get the most out of it. And that's the honest truth. But it begins from understanding what artificial intelligence is and what it's not. So artificial intelligence is more of like garbage in, garbage out. What you give it is what it brings out. It doesn't have a mind of its own. That is why it's a far-fetched thought to think that artificial intelligence can replace us. There are things that artificial intelligence can do, but there are things that artificial intelligence cannot do. For example, like human judgment, critical thinking, intuition, or rather, those are things that artificial intelligence cannot do. Yes, they say that in a few years, maybe 50 years, artificial intelligence is going to transition from just being artificial intelligence to artificial general intelligence, to a place where now it's called singularity of artificial intelligence, where artificial intelligence can function without human intervention. That's where the fears are. But it's also just a projection, right? But we are not yet at that place. But there are claims that we reach a time where artificial intelligence is able to operate independent of human intervention. But it's a projection. But when you look at where we are now, we have an opportunity to leverage this technology because it's already defining a lot of jobs, it's already defining a lot of things in society. When you look at, for example, what is happening in the geopolitics that are happening across the world, if you look at the trade war that is happening between America and China, if you look at the trade wars that are happening between the geopolitics that are happening with Russia and Europe, when you look at what is happening and you understand really the core, is some people up there are beginning to understand the need to have supremacy in the artificial intelligence space. They have already seen the potential. I think it was the other day where America put aside more than $500 billion just on artificial intelligence research. They are willing to invest that much. And beyond that, right now there is a conversation about who is controlling the AI value chain. The AI value chain, to better understand it, is you need to understand what gives this whole conversation the power that it has. And the power comes from what they call an AI chip. So artificial intelligence also has a processor called an artificial intelligence chip. And that chip is from silicate sand, right? So they get silicate sand, transform it into different forms, and they make the AI chip. As we know it, the biggest deposits of silica, high-grade silica, are known to be around Taiwan, right? That is why America will not easily allow China to take over Taiwan, because Taiwan, as we know it, is the world's largest semiconductor manufacturer in the world. So everyone knows that whoever controls that island is going to define a lot of things in the next few years. That's why having conversations around America with Ukraine and saying that we're not going to give you any more aid unless we have a certain understanding on us owning your rare mineral deposits. Everyone is trying to get as much, well, the world is trying to get as much hands-on to some of these raw materials. It's not even gold anymore. Right now, the new gold is data. The new gold is artificial intelligence supremacy. It's an AI race. Japan is on its lane. America is on its lane. Europe is on its lane. Artificial intelligence has become a national asset that everyone is trying to amass. But where does that leave Uganda? Where does that leave us? We have the silicate. We have all of these things. So when you have data, it's the raw product of intelligence. Like Nescafe would be the product out of coffee. So that's why countries are trying to own their data to produce the national intelligence. But I think the trouble is that if, as Africa, we don't catch up, it means that we are going to start exporting data to import intelligence. Because we are saying, okay, maybe we lack the capacity to build our own systems. We lack the capacity to build our own AI ecosystem. So that means we shall always be importing the data to maybe a foreign company to give you intelligence. Yet security is all around intelligence, right? So it's beyond the tools that we are using every day. This technology is defining a lot of things in the background. And when you look at even the time we are in, and one of the things that we are doing at Otic Foundation is, in perspective of that, we are advocating heavily for AI adoption in different fields, whether you're talking about law, whether you're talking about agribusiness, whether you're talking about business, whether you talk about finance, education. There are a lot of tools now that are able to support those different sectors. So we are looking at real case applications of artificial intelligence, understanding its computational power, its ability to be trained on data and produce intelligence. You have artificial intelligence in education now, where you have, I don't know whether some of us have interacted with learning platforms, e-learning platforms like Coursera, e-learning platforms like LinkedIn Learning, e-learning platforms like EDX, and quite a few. When you see how those platforms work, they give you a personalized experience in your education. They go at your pace. They're able to understand how exactly you read or you grasp. Some people grasp by examples. Some people grasp by repetitive, repetitive study, repetitive. So you look at artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, for example. You can actually learn with ChatGPT because you can say, I'm studying a case about maybe the implication of this service, and you converse with it. Now, you're conversing with something that has been trained on millions of amounts of data. It knows everything from what's happened. I think ChatGPT has been trained on information of more than 10, 12, 15 years. So you're literally conversing with an expert. The most traditional way I can explain artificial intelligence is like looking at a farmer who has like experience of 50 years farming rice, farming beans, farming coffee, and then you come to ask him and say, how should I farm coffee? And so, you can farm it this way, you can farm it this way. If your land is like this, you can farm it this way. Mind the climate, mind this. That's what artificial intelligence is, because it's fed on all of this data from vast experiences. So imagine being able to have a tool like that in your legal field. Imagine having a tool like that in your business world. It's okay, how do I increase my sales? Oh, it may seem obvious, but some of this information is not. Maybe it will give you different ideas. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that the critical thinking aspect should be dropped. It doesn't mean that we need to passively engage ourselves with some of these technologies. I think it's important that we sieve the information that we get from some of these tools, because they are trained on data, and that brings in the whole conversation of what is the ethical way of using artificial intelligence. What is the most responsible way of using artificial intelligence? I could give you an example. Most of the cases or the loopholes that are going to be seen coming from artificial intelligence, for the most part, some of these are going to be, can I say, inherited. For example, if you talk about marginalization of groups, if you talk about privacy issues, if you talk about unfairness of things, if you're going to train a program based on the data that is available, it means that if there are any loopholes in that data, the system will also have those loopholes. I feel like the most critical conversation that in the times that we are going into is AI governance. For example, if I have a company of maybe 50 people, 50 employees, all of these employees they have families, they have needs, they are living lives. If as a manager, I'm thinking about introducing and integrating technology in my company, am I going to end the employment contracts of 20 to be able to use this technology that is more efficient? Probably the work that has been done by 10 people can be done by 5. Should there be governance around that conversation? Should there be some kind of check and safeguards around that? I think so, because there is a way of introducing technology, but without costing other people jobs. But it's a conversation that needs to be had at a national level, but also in those particular organizations. So if jobs are evolving, if jobs are being created by this technology, how do we position ourselves as a country to take up some of these jobs? So what we're doing at Otic Foundation is we are skilling people in artificial intelligence. After being skilled in artificial intelligence, we're giving them job-ready certifications. It's important that we equip ourselves with generic information about artificial intelligence. And for some of us who have just entered the workspace, it's important that we equip ourselves with the necessary skills that are needed. And the world is a global village. So that means I can be able to access a job in America, because the American is also is looking for an AI programmer. We are giving people the opportunity to learn and get job-ready certifications. It It could be a short course of 3 months, it could be a short course of 6 months. We have quite a number of courses that are short. And after that course, we have created a system where we use artificial intelligence to look for all the jobs across Africa that need artificial intelligence. And we are matching these people to jobs. Because people are looking for these skills. So we believe that it's possible for us to leverage artificial intelligence for social impact, for good social impact. Ladies and gentlemen, I come to a close of my presentation. Thank you so much.
For me, what I have to say about artificial intelligence is that we are presented now with an opportunity to leapfrog our development. However, because right now we have, first of all, we have the youngest population in Africa after Niger. So where is the world going to look for the next workforce?
Yeah.
The next workforce of this world is coming from Africa. The next workforce of this world is coming from Uganda. However, if we do not wake up as Uganda, if we do not wake up as young people, we are going to continue remaining in the back. You know, they say Africans believe by seeing. These are not times for us to wait to see how we are going to benefit from artificial intelligence. The Chinese did not discover artificial intelligence, but they are competing with different artificial intelligence products that they're delivering. Right now we have DeepSeek. No one saw that DeepSeek was going to come. So until in Uganda we have that political will, until in Uganda our leaders decide to invest where it matters in key sectors like electricity, we are not going to benefit from new discoveries like artificial intelligence. Right now we are not too late. We have the ability to fast track and be at the same pace with the world. But that is if we wake up. If we keep having corruption in Uganda, we shall not be able to leverage artificial intelligence, because resources will be channeled to places where they are not necessary. People will be taking the resources. So we need, as Africa, to wake up. We need to open our eyes. We need general mindset change. People need to know that artificial intelligence, much as media, much as people see the negatives of it, we need to know that we can take advantage of this and be able to push ourselves and be able to push our economies. So I think that is what I wanted to add to what Martin and Wazibwe shared. Thank you so much.
Here I would say that Africa has been at the top of AI even before this other AI. These people only rebranded it. And there are yet other things that have also fascinated us. I've been witness to something that, there are certain things they call satanic, that I really don't understand, especially when the intentions are not good and are not bad at all. For example, there is a young man who died in the lake. We have a lake near here. There is a young man who died, and the body disappeared for 3 days. Until this person, doesn't this guy have his mother? So, but his mother died. No. How about the sister of the mother? He said, yeah, she's there. You tell her to come. All she has to do is, if the breast touch that water and she calls
the name of
that young man, he will come from wherever he is in those deep waters, and he will come towards her. And I saw that myself. Now, if it's not, if that is not artificial intelligence, you can't explain it, but it happens. And it is not satanic. We are retrieving a dead body, yes. So, as we discuss the advent of computers and mobile phones and all these smart gadgets, yes, But I think for us to understand it better, we need to connect this AI that we know now and what we have lived with and continue to live with even up to today. That's my submission.
I welcome the idea of AI, but it must be guided, because we might lose our nature, the nature conscious that we have. If someone gets used to using AI, he's going to lose or close up as an individual. So if we embrace it as a country, we must know the areas where it is supposed to help us. And you see, we have levels of school. We have primary, nursery, primary, secondary, and the university. Let it be regulated at least to be used at the university, so that at this young age, someone utilizes his brains to come up with something. If we don't do that, I see after some decades of years, our natural conscience being in a museum, we might begin to look for people who think on their own in the near future, if we embrace it all. So we need to really guide on how to use AI. I have been in classes of law, and they give us coursework. Someone goes to his phone, puts in a question, they give him all the answers. For you are struggling in group discussions, this person comes tomorrow, done with the work. It's very unfair, very, very unfair. Now, if he passes, what kind of lawyer is going to be if everything that was done by AI? So let's think about it. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
For me, I want to thank you for talking about ethics. But I want to ask us, all of us in our discussion, what is political ethic? What is political ethic? If you put artificial intelligence in the hands of a politician, because I think that even Albert Einstein says, you know, nuclear power, nuclear energy in the hands of a politician is the most dangerous thing that you can get. But it's not the man who created nuclear energy or who discovered it. Right? Put it in the hands of a politician. So, remember the man who said that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass what?
Destruction.
Now, actually, it is that very man who went and destroyed Iraq. Iraq actually, not Iraq.
Up to this day.
And then there was no weapons, and then nobody challenged this person. That's it. In other words, so long as this new system of artificial intelligence is built on the old history, where Africa is the supplier of the raw material, we shouldn't expect much out of that. And it's an ethical question starting from challenging the politics. And how do you do that? Because the guy who has power almost seems to be telling the truth by the virtue of the power. And people, you just watch. Yes, if I have power, if everything I say is true. For me, I think we need to emphasize more on the ethical question, including creating a virus. You see, if you bring a solution, because that's what they tell us, technology is a solution. When we went to primary, they told us, what is a machine? A machine is a device that makes work easy. Now, how do you create another device that makes work impossible? Virus. No. Hey, so we need to challenge ourselves as well. You know, I'm sorry, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
The first thing I want to say is that why do we laugh at our own? Is it lack of self-confidence? That's one. The second one, what have we contributed to AI in terms of technology? We have talked about the Chinese, we've talked about these people with their own thing now. When are we getting there? Instead of talking about the Chinese and the Americans, when are we going to talk about ourselves in terms of these inventions? Because now you know what the others do, but have you created your own? And I think that's a big challenge. The other one, we hear of cybercrime. And I'm sorry I'm analog, I don't know anything about digital, but I've heard of cybercrime. Are we going to get a artificial intelligence crime? And if we do, how do we deal with it? Now, Richard talked about the ethics question. I hear that in this field of artificial intelligence, actually the machines learn, isn't it? That's what I've heard, that they learn on their own. And I shudder to think of a time when they will overtake us. Are we going to be taken over by technology, by machines? Now, these wars going on in Ukraine and Palestine, I think a lot of AI is being used. But I've heard something about the ethics of war. Do these machines get ethical training? So that, because here in Uganda we had very high ethical standards when it came to war. Children were never killed. Old people were never killed. Women were never killed. Yeah. So, what is the AI ethics of war? Because I'm sure a lot is being used in Ukraine and Palestine and in other places. And we're all getting drones, buying them. But apart from buying them, we don't know how these things work really. And I think it is, let me get your name, Baroda, who talked about the infrastructure. Because when you're going to install AI, you need infrastructure, you need electricity, I'm sure. And before you install it, you are talking about AI. But why don't you first concentrate on the infrastructure that you need to establish a sound system of AI around the country? So there are so many challenges, but I think the first challenge we have is to have our own. Yeah. You can internalize it, but can you add to it? The Chinese, they have done something. What have the Africans done? And if we haven't done anything, how do we get from zero to where other people are? Because we're always using technology, but it's not our own. We're always using it, even the latest we use, without our own. We buy the latest SUVs, cars, without any roads. So this is the kind of problem that we have to solve.
Okay.
I just wanted to add on something these people they had talked to, our speakers, about regulation. First is to do with the fakeness, like fake news. Now a lot of these platforms have these models that are producing fake news, like for instance the word Ukraine, and sometimes gives fake images or fake pictures. So there needs to be regulation about that and sensitizing people, the consumers, on being able to spot what is not real and what is real, because now a lot of people are taking advantage of these. They create their platforms to create viewership, and so people end up downloading or clicking information from those platforms, and so there needs to be regulation because now it's getting also out of hand. And also something about copyright. A lot of these models sometimes copy from people, for instance, like let's say the people who are into art, the painting, sculpture, they put their information in internet. So I may be a person who wants an art piece, and I tell the AI model that you get me this person's painting style, and then get me another person who paints the background like this. So I get from different painters something, and I create a painting that has been copied from different people. And it's a challenge for people whose, let me say, works. There's something they call jailing, I think, to protect your work in AI. So the way I see it is, if you're not well versed with jailing or something, your work, there is no law that's going to protect it. Like, they ought to have copyright, my music is copyrighted. And the way I see it, there's going to be a lot of copyright infringement and lawsuits within copyright. And so the copyright law is not going to protect you. So if you're not well versed with protecting your work regarding jailing, then it's going to be a very big problem. So I was just adding to those.
Thank you very much.